family members, guests, colleagues, and of course, the graduates of 2020. Before I begin my closing remarks, it's important to acknowledge a number of people for making today so memorable for you. Firstly, thank you to all the building and grounds and housekeeping support staff who ensured that the graduation setup is both beautiful and befitting of the importance of this auspicious graduation ceremony. Secondly, some thank yous to our sound and lighting, ICT and marketing teams, the secondary office staff, and the Year 13 tutors. Thanks also to Alec Bean, Laura McRitchie, and David Larkin, the chamber choir, and all our amazing musicians who never failed to impress. Also, thanks go to the senior delegates for rising to the occasion, no surprise there, and delivering their speeches so incredibly well. And finally, a particularly special thanks to Lorna Conroy, Assistant Principal for Student Welfare, and Head of Year 13, Matt Jones, for their meticulous planning and coordination of this event. My sincere thanks to you all. This is my first graduation speech. For many years, I sat in the audience listening to Mick Smith, our secondary principal, deliver one fantastic graduation closing speech after another. But these are strange times, so it is fitting, perhaps, that I find myself standing here with the honor of delivering this year's final remarks. Now, Grad 20, before I go any further, I need to say this right now. Congratulations to you all. When you started your secondary adventure back in Year 7, you had just left behind primary and your Year 6 teachers, and some of you were new to Patana, and you were so eager and full of energy, and that hasn't changed one bit. I am just so sorry that I can't be there in person to deliver the speech to you face to face. So how are you doing, Grad 20? You're all grown up, and you've got your Patana diplomas now, and the formal stuff is almost over. But it is kind of weird, right? I don't know about you, but I clearly remember back to the start of Term 2 in January of this year, when the biggest immediate health issue facing us in Bangkok was that of air quality. And then this, a Hollywood pandemic movie come to life. Man alive. I think you will be forever known as the COVID generation of graduates, the cohort that didn't get to sit their final exams, have a prom, and enjoy their final week in secondary in the time-honored ways of their predecessors. Grad 20, over the past few months, you've all been through a lot in one way or another. 1 minute, you're going through the business of being a Year 13 student, preparing for exams, planning your end-of-year activities, pushing in at the snack bar and noodle lines, and just hanging with your friends. Then school closed, and then your IB exams got cancelled, and it really started to dawn on you that your final year at Patana, your year, was not going to end as you had hoped, and as you deserved. I know you've worked so hard during this 2-year IB diploma program to get to today, one of the biggest days in your lives to this point. I know this is not the way you wanted to see out your time at Patana, and hopefully you don't, but if you do feel sad, disappointed, angry, or whatever, I don't blame you. But try to pull yourself out of that space if that's where you are, because you've almost reached the corner at the end of the street. And when you turn that corner, Grad 20, where to next? Well, all around the globe, by the looks of it. You all have so much ahead of you, and when you pack your bags, that final time before leaving home to embark on that next stage, you're going to discover that A, you really can do all the things you aspire to, and B, you can do things you haven't even thought about yet. And that is just part of the exciting upside that awaits you around that corner. If it hasn't quite occurred to you yet, I think you're going to realize that you've actually been packing your bags for a long time now. Your own special Patana-sponsored reality survival pack, indelibly stamped with tiny tiger paw prints. Alongside your parents, Grad 20, your Patana family has been there by your side all the way, patiently but persistently, insistently helping you to pack your bag. your reality survival pack, showing you what you need to pack, what you really don't need to pack, and what you shouldn't pack. And those Patana-sponsored reality survival packs are just about as good as we can get them right now, packed to the brim. You are passionate global citizens, fully equipped with the essential future-focused skills and attitudes that will serve you well beyond Patana. And what does lie beyond Patana? Short answer, 7.8 billion other people, and the world that you will start to dip your independent toes into soon enough. And it's a cool world out there, full of amazing things and fantastic people. But as you know, it's also a bit of a crazy world, a dangerous world for the unwary. Now, I know that many of us have been tracking political events in the United States with particular interest ever since Donald Trump climbed aboard as president. His example of leadership has no doubt left its mark on us all. From the outside looking in, it was always a wild and unpredictable ride with Trump at the helm, an almost constant tacking duel against the prevailing winds of common sense and the common good. When the COVID-19 pandemic forced America to act, we began to see the result of Trump's approach to leadership. To many, and beyond the tragedy of the tens of thousands of COVID-19 deaths in the United States, it almost seemed inevitable that some other terrible thing would happen. The May 25th death of George Floyd triggered a global Black Lives Matter response, with millions of protesters of all ethnicities, religions, and backgrounds taking part, denouncing the dehumanization of African Americans in the US and demanding change with regards to similar racial inequalities and injustices in their own countries. Now, as much as any other time in living memory, we could do with more people willing to find and implement solutions. Over the past 18 months, the world has witnessed a drastic increase in violent disorder. In addition to the Black Lives Matter movement, there have been other serious civilian protests around the world, from Lebanon to Hong Kong and Iraq to Chile, all wanting the same thing: equity, access to justice, and the right to exert agency in their own futures. Globally, hate crimes are on the rise. In the UK, for example, hate crimes have doubled over the last 5 years. The UK is not alone. Many Western nations, at least, share similarly alarming hate crime statistics, with the majority of cases based on race, followed by sexual orientation, disability, and religion. During the global pandemic lockdowns, with people forced to stay at home for weeks on end, there has been a shameful rise in domestic violence, violence by men against children and women. Rest assured, Grad 20, there is plenty of opportunity out there for you to make a difference. Notably, it is women leaders who have risen to the fore this year to do just that, make a difference. As the COVID-19 pandemic exerted an ever-increasing stranglehold on our lives, women leaders around the world stood up to be counted when they were needed most, when a potentially devastating pandemic of fear swept into their countries like wildfire. Denmark's Mette Frederiksen, Germany's Angela Merkel, Iceland's Katrín Jakobsdóttir, Norway's Erna Solberg, Finland's Sanna Marin, and Taiwan's Tsai Ing-wen have all led their nation's successful pandemic responses. In my own country, at the time of my writing this speech, New Zealand's Prime Minister, a woman, Jacinda Ardern, and her team of 5 million, as she has called the country's population, have effectively eliminated COVID-19 from the country, and life in New Zealand has returned to something approaching normal. No masks, no social distancing. So what does this tell us? That women make the best leaders? Maybe. But I doubt the real answer is as simplistic as being based on gender alone. But in contrasting leadership of men like Donald Trump over the past few years against that of women leaders like Jacinda Ardern and others, it is very clear that there must always be room, even in the cut-thrust world of politics, there must always be room for kindness and empathy, and an acknowledgement that these qualities do not preclude strong, informed, decisive leadership. Instead, kindness and empathy can enhance effective leadership, regardless of gender or any other demographic. There is always a need to be a good person, to be a good human being, and all that implies. So, back to you, Grad 20. What narrative will you seek to build once you leave Patana? Will you strive to make a difference? If not you, then who? Just as important, if not now, then when? Yep, it's much easier to turn away and ask, why should I? Much more difficult, much more inconvenient to walk forwards and ask, why should I not? There is some wild and crazy traffic out there, and just like in Thailand, even the pedestrian crossings and red traffic lights can betray you. Your independence, resilience, and creativity is going to be tested in new and unexpected ways. Your integrity, your ability to manage your impulsivity and manage risk, to think critically and apply moral and ethical purpose to your behaviors are for sure going to be challenged. Your communication and collaboration skills are going to stand you in good stead away from familiar shores. You'll make mistakes. We all do. That never stops. You'll make friendships. You'll lose friendships. You will experience successes and failures, love and heartache, and so much more. Grad 20, that's what happens when you leave primary. That's what happens when you leave secondary. That's what happens when you turn your back on childhood and sit down at graduation, all grown up, holding on to your Patana diplomas, eager to get on with finding your way as an adult. And you will find your way, Grad 20. You will make good use of your individualized Patana-sponsored reality survival pack. You know what positive values look like. Trust in them. And trust also in your resilience, in your ability to bounce back from adversity. You've made it through the IB, and that's as good a practice run as you're going to get during your school days. Nurture your well-being. When they come, celebrate your successes and hold on to those good memories. Insist on exercising personal agency in your life choices and embrace the challenges and obstacles that you cannot help but encounter along the way. Find authentic meaning in what you choose to do, whatever it is. What you do should matter to you. Be kind, Grad 20, to others and to yourself. Be generous of spirit, cherish your relationships, and be happy. Man alive, I know it's a cliche, but that really is what it's all about. Be happy. Grad 20, we are all teachers, parents, family, and peers, so very proud of you. Congratulations, and good luck to you, the graduating class of 2020. Thank you.